The first thing that you're going to need is to get the same software that I'm going to be using on this tutorial. That software that we're going to use is called VS Code. So I'm going to show you now how we can do that. If you've already got VS Code installed or you've already got some of these things figured out, then I encourage you to follow the chapters in this video so you can jump forward, jump back as you need. If you come back to this video later, remember what chapter you're on and then jump forward to that chapter. So I'm going to cover everything from start to finish, but the chapters will allow you to jump to the point that is suitable to you. Okay. So this first part, we're going to install VS Code onto our machine. Now I'm using a Mac computer, but the process should be very similar for both Mac and Windows. So I'm just going to Google VS Code download. And then click on this first link here. You've got your different operating systems. You might be on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. If you're on neither of these, then you're going to need to get onto one of these machines. If you're on a Chromebook, it's not going to work for you. But I'll create a separate video showing you how to use glitch.com, which is purely web-based. So if you don't have access to a computer that can download VS Code, then definitely check out the glitch version of this tutorial. So I'm on a Mac, so I'm just going to click here to start the download. Just going to save it to my downloads folder. Wait for it to finish downloading. So just while we're waiting for that to download, just to let you know, I'm videoing here in Mauke in the Cook Islands. I recently moved back here last year from New Zealand, so I'm New Zealand born and raised. My dad was born here in the Cook Islands in Mauke, and yeah, we decided that we were going to pack up everything in New Zealand, move back to the Cook Islands and start driving some of this stuff forward, getting more people in the Cook Islands into technology. So this is my Uncle Uru's place that we're staying at here in Ngāti Aroa village. And yeah, it's a beautiful day. So that download's finished. I'm going to open up that zip file. The Windows one's going to be slightly different, but the main thing is just getting VS Code installed. And on a Mac, that's it must open straight from the zip file. I'm going to open it. And there we go. This is what VS Code looks like. We can close these release notes, and we can even close this welcome tab. Close these notifications, and this is just a really blank VS Code. We've got this Explorer pane here, and we're going to open a new folder, and that'll be our project folder. So what I'm going to do, I haven't created a folder yet to open, so I'm just going to go back to my desktop and create a new folder, and I'm going to call this 3 codes. Because this lesson is all about an introduction to the 3 codes that build up all websites. So every website, every app that's built on the web, so not a native app. So you have native apps which are installed on your phone, and it uses the phone's operating system to run that app. But then you have these other apps which are called web apps, which all run on the internet. So they're all sort of based on your browser, and they use 3 codes called HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this little mini tutorial is going to show you what HTML, CSS and JavaScript, what they look like and how they work together. So this is an empty folder that I've just created. I'm going to go back into my VS Code, this one here, and then go open folder, and that was on the desktop, and it's called 3 codes, and there's nothing in there yet, but I'm just going to open that folder. And so now in VS Code, I was just saying, do I trust this folder? I'm just going to yes, because it's me. And I can close the welcome tab. But the main thing is that I'm in the Explorer, and I can see I'm in the 3 codes folder. And then from here, I'm going to create 3 files for the 3 different types of code. So that I'm going to create this new file button and type index.html. So in this index.html file is where I'll write the HTML code. I'm going to create another one called style.css, and I'm going to create a third new file called script.js. So I have these 3 different files, and you can edit them by clicking on the tab. And if I go back to that folder on the desktop, you can see that that folder now has those 3 files in there. So the three codes, HTML, CSS and JavaScript, they're acronyms for the correct names of these types of code. And so HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and JS stands for JavaScript. It's not super important to know what these acronyms stand for. It's more important that you understand what they do and how to write it. So we'll look at that now. The HTML can be thought of as the structure and content of the website or the web app. So I like to imagine it like these bones of the skeleton. So the HTML is sort of the structure. So for example, the headings, the paragraphs, the text on the page, the images on the page, the button that's on the page, it's all the content that shows up on the page of the website or web app. The CSS code is the style and the aesthetic. So if your HTML has headings and images, what the CSS code can do is it can sort of make your font of your title bigger and change the color to a different color. It can also resize your images to be the shape of a circle instead of a square. So the HTML is the content, the code that controls and creates the content. The CSS is the code that sort of makes it look pretty and allows you to add your own design and style to it. The JavaScript code is like the brains of the app. It does all the thinking, the action, it can do things. So for example, you'd create a button in HTML using the button tag. In CSS, you could make that button really large and a specific color, and then maybe put a nice shadow effect around it. What the JavaScript would do is that when you click the button, it would go to a database and check that the password is correct, or whatever action that you wanted that click to do. Without the JavaScript and you click that button, nothing happens. There's no logic or instructions for what that page or app is supposed to do. So the JavaScript is the thinking of the app, and so you'd write JavaScript code that says if this button is clicked, then get this data. Oh, there's a coconut, just fell down. So that's basically the three different codes that run the web, and we're going to create a little mini project that shows you how each of these codes work together. So we'll do that part now. Before that, here's just some examples of what the codes look like. So HTML is unique from the other two in that it has these angle brackets. So you can see these sort of blue arrows, one pointing to the left and one pointing to the right. Those are called angle brackets. So if you ever hear me saying have an angle bracket, HTML, closing angle bracket, this side sort of starts a tag and then this side ends the tag. Okay, so that's HTML. It has angle brackets. Another thing about HTML is that most, actually I've got a better slide for that. So you have your opening tag at the start, and they usually have a matching closing tag at the end, which has a slash going through it. So this example of a heading, you code it like this. You do an angle bracket, H1, closing angle bracket, and then the content that goes inside the tag, and then the closing tag. So you have an opening tag and a closing tag, and then you put your content in the middle, and then that's how you create a heading element. And so we have a bunch of different tags that have been specified for the web. And for example, we have the H1 for the heading 1, we have a P tag which creates a paragraph element, we have an IMG tag which creates an image element, so that's how you do pictures. And then we also have these other ones like for the structure of the page, so your head and your body, but we'll cover that in our example. So that's what HTML looks like. So let's give it a try in our mini project. I'm going to go back to our 3 codes folder in VS Code, and what I want you to do, the very first, just make my sizing a bit larger for you guys to be able to read. Don't need that much. So every HTML file, every single one, should start off like this. Angle bracket, exclamation mark, doc type, and then HTML closing angle bracket. Every website starts like that. It basically tells the page that, hey, this code is going to be HTML. The next tag we start with is HTML. And then in VS Code, notice that when I did the closing angle bracket on that opening tag, it automatically added the closing tag. So I'll show you that again. So it was like that, and then when I did shift full stop to do a closing angle bracket, it automatically adds the closing one to the end of it. And then inside this HTML element, we always put a head. Oh, shouldn't be capitals. Closing angle bracket, and you'll see that it will auto-complete the closing tag. So I'll push enter again, and inside the head we should always have a title. And that title, if I just say this is the title, and then save it, and then I'm going to jump to the end of the head tag. Okay, I don't want to stay inside the head element, I want to go outside of it and create the body, the two body tags, creating a body element. And inside the body, I'm going to create a heading 1 tag and say this is the heading. And now notice that whenever I'm typing code, there's a big circle here. That means the file has not been saved. So you won't see any changes until you save the file. So I'm going to go File, Save. And notice there's also a keyboard shortcut, Command S, which you can use on a Mac. I think on a Windows machine it should be Control S. But for now I'll just click this one, and then all future times I'll do Command S for the keyboard shortcut. So we've written 9 lines of code, and half of that was like auto-predicted by VS Code. If your text editor doesn't do the autocomplete, then you do have to type the closing tag. But hopefully you're using VS Code, it just sort of speeds things up a little bit. So if I was to go back to my desktop and open the 3 codes folder, and now I open the index.html, you can see this is our index.html, and you can see this is the title. So at the top of the page in that tab, that's where the title appears. And this H1 in the body, that appears on the page. So I'm just going to minimize this so I can see both my code and my page. So if I write hello in the title and then Command S to save, notice the dot has gone now. And then it didn't update there because I have to reload the page. And you can see hello, this is the title. So you can see how this HTML code is creating that website. We could create another element called the paragraph element using the P tag, and I'll say this is a paragraph. Save it with Command S, refresh. This is a paragraph, and notice the size changes there. So H1 by default has a different look than a paragraph. We also have other H tags like heading 2 and heading 3, and I believe these H tags go all the way to H6. Just going to copy and paste. Not sure if it'll be quicker, might be a little bit quicker. If you don't know how to copy and paste, what you do is you highlight the part you want to copy, and then you push Command C if you're on a Mac, or Control C if you're on a Windows. And what that does is it copies whatever portion you have highlighted. So if I highlight this area here and copy it, and then press enter to start a new line, if I paste it, it's just going to keep pasting whatever selection was copied. Cool. So I'm just going to change these to H6, and I don't think there's an H7, but let's just see what happens when you try it. I'm guessing it's going to look exactly the same as an H6, so save it, refresh, and you can see, so H7 doesn't work, it looks more like a paragraph. But yeah, we have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, H7. H7's not a thing, so I'm going to delete that. And you wouldn't use H1, H2, H3 just for the sizing, because we can control the size of our headings using CSS. Sorry, we've got chickens here in Mauke, that's going to happen a bit. But we use the headings more as a hierarchy thing, like H1 is the most important, H2 might be like the second most important, and then your paragraph. It's sort of like, indicates to the browser which headings are most important and things like that. So it's a way of sort of structuring your text rather than using the H1, the heading tags just to control sizing. But hey, it does that too. I'm going to save that, going to refresh that. So that's HTML in a nutshell. In fact, let's do one more. Let's do one more tag because pictures are cool. I'm going to do image. So that's the tag, and then there's another part for an image tag that comes after that called. We always need the image to have a source, and basically that's like the source of the image that you want to load. I don't have an image in this folder yet, so I'm going to have to get one for this to work properly. And then I'm going to put the slash in angle bracket. So the image tag is a weird one because it's like one of the only ones that doesn't have like a closing image tag that you'd be used to. So like you'd expect it to have like a closing image tag like that. But image tags don't have it because there's not really any content that goes in between. Instead, it's what's referred to as a self-closing tag. And you just have the content of the image element goes into the source attribute. Man, I apologize if I'm using all these big words and you don't understand. It's not really important what I'm saying. It's just important what I'm writing in the code and that you're understanding it and that you're being able to apply it yourself. So if I'm using words that you don't understand, don't worry about it. Just worry about the code and what the code does, so that you can create your own code. To me, that's more important, that you can be creating with these skills rather than like fully comprehending it. There's heaps that even I still don't comprehend, but I can still make cool stuff. So that's the main thing. Let's get an image. Go to Google Images. Just going to find an image of Mauke. That's the island we're filming from today. This is our beautiful island here in the Cook Islands. Very small island. Might have to make this a bit bigger. So I'm just going to go copy, and I'm going to copy the image address. So if I copy that image address and then I paste it here, that's a long as address. But I think it will work. So I'm going to paste it in there and go save. If I go back to my website and then refresh, you can see that the image appears. So what that's doing is it's saying in the code, hey, I want to insert an image onto this page, and this is the source of where you can find that image. A better way to actually source this image is to save it to my folder and then reference it from there. So how we would do that is if I go back to here, instead of copying the address of that image, I'm actually going to save it. So if you missed how I saved the image, I right click on the image that I want, go save image as, and then I'm going to choose where to save that image, and I'm going to save it to my 3 codes folder. And I'm just going to call it Mauke, save. And now if I go back to VS Code, not that one, that one. Might put my preview back to here. And you'll see that that Mauke.jpg is now within that folder, and I can source it directly from here. So when you're doing your source, make sure you have the equals and the quotes, the sort of speech marks, and we can write in here Mauke.jpg, and it has to be spelled exactly the same as it is here. And it's even got a predictive thing here. It sees that there's a Mauke.jpg in the folder, and when I save it, it's loading it. So that address that I copied must have been a smaller version of it, must have been the thumbnail, but having saved the image, the original image, to my computer and loading it from there, it's actually showing as a larger photo. And so this is our island, Mauke. We also call it Akatoko Manawa. And I am recording this video to you right now from pretty much this spot here in the middle. So this website was created using only these 16 lines of code. Pretty sweet, right? If you're wanting to experiment with other HTML tags, so far we've only done the main boilerplate, which is the main structure of all pages. But if you want to experiment with other tags, creating other elements for your page, I recommend this source here created by W3Schools. W3Schools is one of my favorite websites. They have really good references and tutorials, and quite often, even when I'm coding, there's things that I still can't remember, so I'm always referring back to W3Schools when I'm looking to do a bit of code that I just can't remember off the top of my head. So I love this website, it's dope. So yeah, if you're wanting to experiment with some other HTML tags that I haven't talked about in this video, you can go to HTML here, and we want to find, there's really good lessons, HTML elements. This is basically what I was just talking about earlier. These guys explain it probably way better than I do, so definitely check this out. But I wanted to show you this reference page. Here we go, HTML references, tag list. And here we go. These are all the HTML tags that you can use. And like, for example, the image, if we click on that, it gives you an example, which is really cool because you can copy and paste these things in. The image girl.jpg is not going to work because we don't have an image like that in our folder, but it gives you a really good description about what it does and how to use it. It talks about that your image should have an alt attribute. So the alt specifies an alternative text for the image if the image for some reason cannot be displayed. So yeah, use alt attributes. So for example, I could put on here aerial, is that how you spell aerial? Photo of Mauke. And so alt attributes are quite cool because they sort of load up for screen readers, that for blind people that can't see the image. It'll sort of say what the image is, and the way the computer does that is from what the developer put in the alt attribute. So yeah, these are important things that you have to consider when you're making professional apps. Let's find another cool one that we haven't used already. So we were talking about button. I want to demonstrate how JavaScript comes into play, so we're definitely going to have a button that does something using JavaScript. So let's find the button tag. There's a cool example there, so I'm just going to copy that. We've also got a try it yourself thing for just about every tag on W3Schools. So this is really cool because it gives you on the right side an example of what the code does, and you can try it out. We can go click me, it says hello world. So what they've done, they've got a button element, and on this button element they've got an on-click attribute, and this is actually JavaScript written inside of the HTML. A bit technical, you ain't got to worry, we're going to get to that later. But you can see here that this button, click me, hello world, and we could literally copy and paste this, go to our project. Oh man, I've got to stop clicking there, eh? I've got too many VS Code installs. Go over here, let's add it before the image. Command S to save. Come back to my preview. And it's not there. Why is it not there? It's because I haven't reloaded it. And there we go, we've got to click me. I click on it, and this JavaScript says hello world. Copied straight from W3Schools. If you're just starting out and you're just learning, this is a great way to learn. I've copied so much code from W3Schools just to try it out and try to understand how it works. So by all means, give it a jam. If you want to go deeper into HTML, go to W3Schools, find the reference page, try all the different tags, copy the code, Sweet as. In this next chapter, we're going to look at CSS. So CSS code, like I said, controls the style. So it can apply different styles, different colors, different fonts, different sizes, different spacings. It's all handled by the CSS. And this is an example of what CSS code looks like. Notice we don't have any angle brackets. No, that's all HTML. CSS, how we can sort of tell is that we have a selector. We have something from our HTML page that we want to select it, and then we have these curly braces. So they look like a sideways moustache, but I'm pretty sure people call them curly braces. See, we have a selector. In this example, the H1 has been selected. Then we have the curly brace, and then we have an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. And inside those curly braces is where we put our the different properties of the element that we would like to change. Okay, so this example is showing CSS code to change the color of the H1 to this color code. Not too sure what it is. I think that's like a grayish. We're also changing the font size of the H1 to 50 pixels. We're adding a border to the H1 of 1 pixel, and we're adding some padding, which is spacing. So let's try this. I'm going to literally copy that code. I'm going to go into my style.css file, and then I'm going to paste that in there. Oh, wasn't it great? It was a blue. That's the cool thing about VS Code, is it gives us these color previews. Whenever we're doing some color changes in CSS, you can even like drag it around and it'll apply that code. So yeah, VS Code is pretty dope. Got a border. Yeah. Anyways, I'm digressing. So we select the H1. I'm also going to do another example, okay? I'm going to write another example. I'm going to select the P. And you might be saying, well, what's P? What are you selecting? Well, over in my HTML, I have this paragraph element. So it's selecting, it's going to apply these styles to all P's, to all P elements. So I need to, so I've selected the paragraph elements. I'm going to do a curly brace, press enter, and then I'm going to change the color. That's always a good one. It's easy to tell what's done. And change it to red. These are ugly colors. I apologize, but this is just for demonstration. We can go font size, make it smaller than the H1 because that wouldn't make sense if it was bigger. And then we'll just make it 30, might be a bit more noticeable. And why not have a border? It's going to look whack, but at least it'll highlight the demonstration of CSS being applied. So what are we doing? We're doing a 5 pixel border. I know that you can also do dashed instead of solid, so why not? And we could do a color code. Can't really think of any at the moment, so you can either use color codes or you can just use the word. So I might just use like a, I don't know, purple. Really important to have a semicolon at the end of each, what we call, it's a CSS rule. Actually, I've got a slide for this. So yeah, you have your selector, you have a property, and you have a value. So you want to change the property about the element that you've selected, but we need to apply a value to it, and that creates the CSS rule. So let's try it, which we're doing. And there we go. We've got some rules applied to the paragraph, some rules applied to the H1. I've got the dot here, which means it's not been saved. So I'm going to do the keyboard shortcut to save it. Go back to my page and refresh. And bro, it didn't even change. The H1 is still the same. The paragraph is still the same. Okay, the reason is I haven't told my index.html that I've got a style page. I need to tell it, hey dude, I've got some styles, this is where they are. And to do that, we jump into this head section. I generally put it underneath my title element, and we do a link tag. So I just know this, I've got this memorized, so we could go link rel equals style sheet. It's not source, it's href equals, and then in the href is where we put the name of our style sheet. So in my case, it's this one right here, style.css. So I write style.css, and then make sure I close that off with an angle bracket. This is also a self-closing element, so there's no closing tag. Save it, refresh it, boom. Big difference, eh? The big player in this one is the padding, which we'll discuss a bit more, but basically the padding is the space between the content and its container. So there's sort of every element is sort of wrapped up in a little container, I guess, and padding is the spacing on the inside of the container. So you have like so that's 200 pixels on the top of padding, 200 pixels on the right, 200 pixels on the bottom, 200 pixels on the left, and that's on the inside. We could also add a background color. Color's spelled the American way, by the way. In New Zealand we spell color with a U, but that's not going to work in CSS world because it's American, I think, for some reason. So let's just go background color, I don't know, man, blue. Refresh. Cool. Looks pretty hectic. I'm going to show you how to find dope colors, but for now this will do. So yeah, padding, space on the inside. Padding's brother or sister is margin, and that's spacing on the outside of the container. So if I do 50 pixels, save it, refresh it, what do we got here? We've got 50 pixels on the top, 50 on the right, and I think we need to sort of like make that bigger to be able to see the 50 margin on the bottom and left. So whereas your padding is sort of the space on the inside, the margin is on the outside. This is called the box model. Don't know if I needed to get into it just then, but it's cool for you to see like what CSS does, and you can see it makes a big difference. And this is just me pulling out random ugly colors. Imagine if we had like really nice colors, really nice fonts, which we are going to do in our main project. So let's start our actual mini project, what I really wanted to do to show these three codes in action, and we'll make this thing look like actual nice, not like this rubbish that we got on the page now. So, but at least I hope that sort of gives you a brief understanding of how these things work. So I'd like you to start again, delete all your CSS, and don't delete all the HTML. Let's keep the link to the style page. No, let's just clear out the body, and we'll do the body again. And for the title, I want you to call this color change app. And so what this project is going to do is we're going to create a button that when the user clicks on it, it pops up an input box. It'll say enter a color. The user will type in a color, and then JavaScript will take whatever they typed and apply that in CSS to the background of color of the whole page. So this is our little color change app demonstrating HTML, CSS and JavaScript, because we haven't done JavaScript yet. First thing I want you to do, change your title. Next, we'll add a H1, call it color change app. Let's add a H3. It's my first web project. Let's do a paragraph, and we'll say I'm going to save that. I'm going to refresh my page, make that smaller, just so it's on the side there. And I'm going to close that so I can see my code a bit better. Zoom out a little bit. Cool. All right. Now, I wanted to show you guys how to do proper colors and like nice looking fonts, because the built-in fonts are pretty plain and not that cool. And same with the default codes, color codes. If you don't know the color code, then it's pretty hard to pick a nice color. But I've got two websites for you that really elevate your color and font game. And this is them here. So for the colors, I like colorhunt.co. So here you can see a bunch of hand-picked color palettes from designers from all around the world, and when you hover over that color you can see the color hex code next to it. So I can copy any of these, and it says copied, and that's on my clipboard, so I can paste it anywhere in my code. So I'm just going to find a color palette for this project and stick to that. I don't really recommend taking colors from different palettes because it's just not really going to work. Whereas these color palettes, designers have hand-picked colors that look well, go well together. So I recommend just picking a color palette from here and just sticking to those colors. But I mean, hey, that's just a recommendation. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I'm going to keep it simple. This one looks kind of cool. So I'm going to choose some of these colors for my backgrounds and for my text. So I'm just going to copy that one. I might use that one for my background. So if I go to style, oh, by the way, if you want to change the background color of the whole page, which element do you think would refer to the whole page? Yep, you guessed correctly if you said body, because you can see everything's in the body. So if we change the background color on the body, it'll effectively change it for the whole page. So let's select that now, body, space, curly brace, enter, write my property background color, spelled the American way, must have a full colon which has 2 dots. Then I'm going to paste in the color code that I got from this website, and then semicolon. Now it's really important, for some reason Color Hunt has a hashtag here, but when I paste it, it doesn't have it there, so I have to add that there, and now we have that color. So if I go back to my preview, refresh, cool, now we're cooking. I'm going to select my H1, change the color of that, use one of these nicer colors, sticking to my theme. Where is it? I lost it because I resized it. That one. Okay, where are you going? You're going up. There you are. Oh, do you know what? I should just click on it. Now it will only have that one open. I'll use that one, maybe that one for my H1. Hashtag, paste, semicolon, save, refresh. Yeah, it's 8. Copy that one for my paragraph. So select the paragraph, curly brace, enter, paste. Oh, not paste. Undo. Undo is Command Z or Control Z if you're on Windows. That's just like if you did anything crazy, then you just undo it with Control Z or Command Z. So color first, then hashtag, then paste, semicolon, save, refresh. Cool. And I've forgotten an element. What one was that one? That was H3. H3. Might keep that one. Color, hashtag, paste, semicolon, save, refresh. Cool. I mean, it looks right. So click the button to change the color of the background. We don't have a button yet, so I should actually add that now. So I'm just going to add the button tag. Not the nutten, the button. And inside the button tags, I'm going to write click me. Save, refresh. Cool, we got a button. And I kind of want to make this button like pretty big. So what I'm going to do is add some padding to that button. So what does 20 pixels look like? Save, refresh. That's pretty cool. If you just have one value for padding, it adds it to all 4 sides. But if you have 2 values, so for example 50, so 20 pixels, the first number gets applied to the top and the bottom. So top and bottom is 20 pixels there, and then the second number is to the left and to the right. So you can see I'm making it a little bit longer by adding numbers to the second part there. Cool, click me. Cool, looks good, colors look good, button looks good, but the fonts still look crap. So the second website that I really like to use, bring in fonts.google.com. Really cool resource for fonts. We could put our example in here, color app, just to get a preview of what that font will look like. This one looks playful and kind of fun, so I'm going to open that one in a new tab. So I'm just going to right click new tab. So I might get, that looks like a cool one for my title. Not going to overthink it, just going to get this one for the H3, and I might get, I'll just get this one for the paragraph, why not? So I'm loading up 3 different tabs here. Okay, this is more like a Korean font by the looks of it, something like that. But I'm pretty sure it'll still work in English. So how we use these fonts in our websites is that we have to go select, and it pops out this little sidebar. If you don't see the sidebar, then you can click on that. That's what brings it out, that icon there. And so far we've only got the one selected, so I want to select the other ones too. So what do we got? Pop-ins, extra light. I'm just going to go whatever that one is, light 300 italic. So you can see we got that one selected now, and my third one over here, another international font. Man, it looks cool. Wish I could read that. Select it. So we've got 3 fonts here in different sizes. Choose the other ones if you want other ones, like, you know, if you want to go for the really fat fonts like this. That one looks quite cool. Might select it. So I'm getting the light and the black. And then we don't download it. That's if you'd want to install it on your computer. But for use on the web, we get given these codes here. And see this link tag? We've used this before to link our style sheet. What Google's doing here is they're giving us these link tags to import these fonts into our project. So I'm just going to highlight all of that, or click the button, copies, it does the same thing and copies it. Go back to my project, go back to my HTML, and I'm going to paste this. I'm actually going to paste it above my style sheet, because what I want it to do is I want it to load all the fonts and then load the style sheet where I use those fonts. So paste it in there. It's quite a long thing, so I'm just going to tab those in so it looks a bit cleaner. Oh, click here. I'm just pressing tab to indent the code. It just keeps it nice and clean. If you have things inside of an element, it should always be tabbed in so that you can clearly see. These are called children of that element because it's sort of inside here. So head's the parent of title, just like H1 is a child of body because they're inside of that parent element. So that's sort of how you keep your code nice and clean. Is you either, if you backspace everything, it's confusing and a lot more difficult to read, especially if you've got situations like this. That's quite hectic. So just going to undo it. So yeah, just make sure you keep your indentation correct. Where were we? So we've imported our Google fonts. Now it's time to use them. So I'll just save that. Go back to my Google. Oh, got some chicken mates over there scratching around. And so there. That's importing the font, and now this is using it. So because I've imported 3, I'm going to copy all of those. Command C. Back to my project. Styles. And I'm going to just paste them down here. But what I'm going to do, this is just for my reference. That code it shouldn't really be there, but just for my reference, what I can do is I can comment it out by pushing Command / which is the question mark key as well. And what that does is it adds this / and an * on the other end, and that creates a comment. So this doesn't actually affect the code in any way, it's just a way that you can have text. And it's actually a good habit to comment your code in our next project. when we do like a profile page, we're actually going to do a lot of commenting, so I can sort of show you why that's a good practice. But for this one, we were pretty chill about comments, but I'm just going to put it here so that it's easy for me to refer to for each of these things, instead of always going back over here and copying which one do I need. Like even if I closed all this page and I was like, oh damn, what was that? How do I use that font that I had? At least I've got it here in my comments. So I'm pretty sure that Gasok was the cool one for the H1 for the title, and I was thinking of the Poppins for the H3, and the Defilia for the paragraph. So that's what that font family CSS rule does. It just changes those fonts. I'm going to save it. Let's have a look. Hopefully our page looks a bit cooler now. Refresh. It's going to take a little while just to bring in those fonts. And there we go. It changed. Cool. That looks a bit better, eh? Except, yeah, it's alright. It's alright. Might make that font a little bit bigger. It's pretty beefy. Might need to be a bit bigger to make it out a bit clearer. Save. Refresh. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. This video is already pretty long. Remember, jump around in the chapters so that you're not like having to sit through 1 hour or however long this video has been. So, guys, we've done a lot of work. We've got an HTML for our content. So it's got an H1, H3 paragraph button. We've got a style. It's making it look pretty dope. Let me just show you. I'm going to comment out that style. So it's basically hiding it, save it, and then refresh. Look what it looks like. Look what your page looks like without any styling. Crazy, eh? We'll uncomment to bring the style back in, save it, refresh. That's the power of CSS for you. Pretty awesome. Come, bro. This is my man Francis. Come. Say what's up.
What's up?
I'm just doing a lesson, bro. You want to watch? So just making a website using these codes here, and I'm recording it, so you should watch the video, man, so you can learn. You gonna watch it?
Yeah.
Cool, bro. So got our HTML, CSS is on point, but look, when I click the button, nothing happens. It's because we haven't written our JavaScript code yet. So let's write that now. So here we go, JavaScript. Before we do anything about the button, let's just have some fun with this just to see it in action. One of the fun ones is alert. This is a default JavaScript function. So alert is the function, the name of the function, the built-in function, and then in the parentheses. So the technical name for these things is called a parentheses, or you can call it a bracket. Some people call it bracket, but the proper name is parentheses. So I don't know. Sometimes I use brackets, sometimes I use parentheses. But yeah, that's what those things are. Can you say parentheses? Try. Parentheses. Yeah, bro. That's what those are. Parentheses. That one there. See there? Next to the above the 9. That's a parentheses. That's a parentheses. That's the hard name, or just bracket. And then inside the brackets, we can do speech marks, and we can say Kia ora na Francis. And then we save it. Is that how you spell your name? With an I or E?
I.
I, cool. So we save that alert function, put Kia ora na Francis in the parentheses, and then if I reload the page, it should say alert, but it hasn't. And the reason it didn't is because the same thing from when we had the styles, we haven't told our page that we have a script file. It was the same thing here. When we didn't tell our page we had a style file, we need to tell our page we've got a script file. So we can put it up the top here. What that does is it loads the script before the page is done. So if we were trying to add a click thing onto the button, it actually does that before the button's created. So to avoid that happening, we generally put our scripts right at the end, before the closing body tag. So I'm just going to put it in here, script, and same as our image, our script has a source of where is the script, and my script is right here called script.js. So I'll put that in the script. in the source, sorry, script.js, put a closing angle bracket, save, refresh. Look, kia ora, Francis. Nah, we're doing a lesson on the camera. Come, say hello to the camera. So, at the moment, our script, when we reload the page, instantly it's calling this alert. What we could do is that we say kia ora, Francis only when we click me instead of when the page loads. So to do this, we need to get this button element so that we can track when it's getting clicked on. So to do this, I'm going to comment that out for now. So same thing, command / to add a comment. I'm going to go, so now when I save and I refresh, I'm not getting annoyed by that alert anymore because it's commented out. So what I'm going to do is get that element. I'm going to go, and we do that like this. We do the command of document in JavaScript. That's saying go to my document. I do a full stop. And then there's another built-in function called get element by ID. Make sure you have the correct capitals. So it's sort of like a lowercase for the first word, and then each word after that has a capital letter at the start. Then we do our brackets, and then in this get element by ID, we need to put the name of the ID for that element. And at the moment, I actually don't have any IDs on any of my elements, so I'm going to do that now. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this button element, and I can get it by ID with this function if I add an ID to the button. So I go ID equals, and then I'm just going to call it color button. You can't have a space, so I'm just going to have a hyphen. Or we could do like the camel casing thing where it's lowercase then a capital. I think I'll do it that way. I think that's probably more common. I'm going to save that. And now I can get this button element using this ID of color button. So I can copy it, go back to my JavaScript, get element by ID. You need to have your ID in quotes, and then paste. So now I'm getting that whole element, this whole button element by ID. And then I'm going to save that into a variable. I'm going to save it into a constant variable called button. Oh no, let's just call it color button. Save. Not vala button, color button. Save. Semicolons at the end, it's good practice. Okay. Now we've got the element saved into a variable called color button. Now we can add an event listener which will listen for any clicks. Pretty complicated, but it's not much code. It's alright if you don't understand what I'm talking about. It's more important that you understand what the code does so that you can write the code to do what you want it to do. Okay, but I'm just showing you here. So we're going to go color button, which is this variable, which is a reference to this whole element. And then we're going to go add event, and it's got predictive here. I'm going to use it because in case I type it wrong. And then we can put different events on here. And I think we can put a click event as the first thing in these brackets. These are called parameters. So the first parameter is the type of event we want to listen to, because there's click events, there's hover events, there's blur events where you like go off it, but we're just going to listen for clicks. And when it detects a click, we want it to go, let's just call it do this. So do this is a function. So if I click on it, I'm going to get an error. Sorry man, going a bit crazy here, but I just want to show this. So we've got a console in our developer tools, more tools, developer tools, and then we can go console. If I click here, oh, I need to refresh. Do this is not defined. So I click it, it's not going to work because do this is not defined. So we need to define it because it's looking for a function called do this, and it wants to run that function every time I click on the color button, but it doesn't exist yet. So we can create it by going function, color, oh not color button, bro, function do this, parentheses, then curly brace, and whatever code we type in here will get executed because this is the do this function, and this do this function gets executed every time this button is clicked. So let's try it. We're going to take that alert out of that comment, going to copy it, then delete it, then paste it in here. Refresh the page. Hopefully this works. Click. It says Kia ora Francis. See that, bro? Hard, eh? Or easy? Easy. Try click it.
Down.
Yep. Push it down. See? It says Kia ora Francis every time you click on it. You want to try Nana? Click it.
Yeah.
Click it.
Down, push.
Yep. Kia ora Francis. Do you want to write one that says Kia ora Nana? Yeah. Do you want to type it? No? Do you want to type it?
No.
You copy that one. Alert. Because the alert's the one that pops up. So alert, and this time, let's say, what's up? Nah. Reload the page. Okay, you click it. Click on the button. Get on the front, then click OK.
Okay. Down.
Yep.
This one.
Yep. Doesn't really work in tap, eh?
No.
Hold on, let me check this tap. Tap ain't working, bro. We gotta fix this.
You see my YouTube?
Pause. You got a YouTube?
Yeah.
Tap to click. That's why it wasn't working. Okay. Now try. You can click it now just by tapping it how you were doing it.
Yeah, down.
See? Kia ora Francis. Now tap on that one. Let her do it, let her do it. Tap. Yep. See? Oh, you missed it. Okay. Sweet. So that's alerts. But the main thing was we got an element on our web page and we using this command and we saved it into this variable name. And then we added an event listener that listens for any clicks. It's listening for clicks on that button, and when it detects a click, it runs this do this function. And the do this function just did those two alerts. But that's not what we want to do. We want to ask the user for a color and then apply that color to our CSS. So let's do that, and then that's the end of this video. Apologies, I think we're running over an hour, but hey man, we basically are learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in 1 hour. That's not bad. Let's finish this bad boy. Do this. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to ask them, enter a color. So alert just outputs, but there's a command called prompt. Instead of alert, we can do prompt, and then inside those parentheses, we can put the text. So I'll say, enter a color. And then, so if I save that, I'll show you how that works. So refresh. So we click on it. So see, we have enter a color, and now we have a text box that we can type in. So if I say blue and say OK, nothing happens because we didn't save that prompt. So we can save it by assigning it to a variable. So whatever the user inputs, we can assign it to a variable, and we're saving what they typed into that variable. So let's create another constant variable. No, sorry. So we rewrite const, and then we can give this variable any name. So we'll just say users color, and we do assignment by doing equals. So whatever they enter into the prompt box gets assigned to the user's color variable. So we can do that now. We could say, so we could alert that. We can go alert, And inside here, instead of quotes doing text, we can do a variable saying users color. Save. Refresh. So click me, enter a color, blue, OK. And now we see it's alerting the word blue because it got saved to this variable. Does that make sense? Yeah? Sweet. Too good. But instead of just alerting the color, we want to actually change the color of the background. So we need to get the body element so that we can change the background color of that element. So let's do that now using this same command here. Document dot get element by ID in the parentheses, and in the quote marks we need to give it the ID name of our body, but we didn't give it one, so we're going to give it one now. There's the body, giving it an ID, and I'm just going to call it body. Why not? That's all goods. Save. Back to my script. So I'm getting the body ID, and I'm also going to save that to a variable called body, and it equals that element. Make sense? Or is it confusing, eh?
I don't know.
Hopefully you guys are following me. So we got the element of the whole page of the body. We're saving it to a variable called body so that we can use it like this, body. So now we're applying things to that element. And I think in JavaScript, see, I can't remember how to do it, so I'm going to W3School this thing. W3Schools change style using JavaScript. Because I'm not changing it in CSS code, I'm changing it in JavaScript code. This is the last bit, guys. This is the home stretch. And so they got document get element by ID, which I've already done, and they do .style.property. Cool. So I know the property I want to change is background color. So I think that's all I need to do. .style.background color, and then equals, and then we'll do our color, our variable. So change back to our preview, minimize that. Don't need that console anymore. So background.style, and then the property that I want to change. So I'm going to change the background color. Oh, no, you. So yeah, in CSS, I remember this now. In CSS, we would write it like that. But in JavaScript, you don't have a hyphen. You just have a capital there. And then we're going to make that equal, well, going to make that equal the user's color, which is what they entered into the prompt. Now, I think that should work. Yeah, the code's finished. We save it, everything's saved. Reload the page. Click me, enter a color. What's a color?
Red.
Red. R-E-D. Click OK. See? Cool, bro. You just changed the background color with using JavaScript. You want to try a different one? Try it. You try. Click here. Click. What's the color? Green?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Too good.
Green. Oh, blue.
Blue?
Yeah. I want yellow.
You want yellow? Man, we're too good, man. We're too good.
I want blue. Oh, blue.
We can also get our color codes from our color hunt website that we used today. These are the nice colors.
Oh.
What's your favorite one, Nana?
Yep.
Point to it. You like purple?
Nope.
Blue?
Yes.
Okay, we'll copy that one. Go back to our app. Click me. We gotta have a hashtag for these color, the hex codes. Go okay. Boom. That's a nice color. Oh guys, that's our tutorial. I hope you can see how these codes work together. I'm going to put them side by side. Let's have another look at this before we wrap it up. Hide that one. Minimize these a little bit. Okay. So the HTML is the structure of the page and all the content that appears on the page. So it's our headings, it's our text, it's our pictures, it's our buttons. Okay, that's the HTML. It's the content and everything on the page. The CSS controls how it looks. We're applying colors, we're applying font sizes, padding, makes our page look beautiful. And then our JavaScript is the action. It does stuff. It goes to the page, gets the button, checks to see if it's been clicked, and then once it's been clicked, it changes the color of the background. Those are the 3 codes of web development. I hope you enjoyed the video, and all of the mapu of Mauke can say goodbye. Come, jump in.
Hey, what's up, guys?
You can't see. Jump in.
That's it.
Yep.
What's up, guys? We are in.
Yep.
In.
Say peace out from Mauke.
Peace out from Mauke.
Thank you.
Peace out, Wales. Peace out, Wales.
Are the losers?
Queensland's not losers.
Bro, weren't you all blues? You're all blues. Bro, yeah, they suck. Yeah. No, too good, too good. See you guys in the next video.
Queensland.